So which quarterback available in the draft throws the perfect NFL film spiral, Greg?
Oh, the perfect one. Wow. Probably Michael Penix.
Right? I thought the same
Yeah.
thing when I saw him at the combine and we were zooming in on it, and I'm like, okay, to use a phrase that Facenda would say when he got a good piece of copy, like that's a horse you can ride. You know what I'm saying?
Horse you can ride. That's good. You remember all that stuff,
sure.
Rich.
Oh,
good
sure.
For you.
I thought like, you can, you and your colleagues with who are just masters at this can really zoom in on that Penix ball, right? He throws the tightest spiral, would you say? Right?
Yeah, he throws a really tight spiral. And it actually showed up at the combine as well, but it certainly shows up on tape.
So what is your analysis of Michael Penix? Let's start with him.
Well, before we just do that, I think we need to understand everybody wants a bold answer to these kinds of things.
Right.
Who do you like? Who's going to be a star? We have to understand a number of things. Number one, nobody's a finished product when they come into the NFL. There's all projection as involved in this as well. Mm-hmm. No one comes in where you say that guy's a definite. I mean, just think back, 3 years ago when they used the term generational with Trevor Lawrence?
Right.
And nothing against Trevor Lawrence, who I think is a solid NFL quarterback, but I think we have to be careful about making these bold, definitive statements. So getting to Penix, one thing I really enjoyed about watching Penix is that offense under Ryan Grubb, who, as you know, is now the offensive coordinator for Seattle. It was very sort of intermediate and vertically based. So you saw a lot of difficult, intermediate, and deep throws in that offense. And he's very accountable to the system. He wanted the system to work. He let it play out. He did not leave the pocket. And the thing that went along with that, which is really impressive, is he rarely got sacked, which means he was getting rid of the football. He was not just waiting and waiting. So that tells you that he knew where to go with the ball. He understood the route concepts. He understood what he was seeing because he didn't get stuck in the pocket, Rich.
Yeah, I mean, the processing that Penix has shown, I think is first rate. I really do. And as a Michigan Wolverine fan, I was concerned about that going into the national championship game, that his neck up ability is really good. But then, some of the evaluations and evaluators that I've had on this show about that national championship game is that Michigan threw as much of an NFL defense at Penix that he'd ever seen, and they kind of had him off stride. So I'm wondering where you stand on that subject matter.
Yeah,
Greg.
They did to some degree. They also had a ton of false start penalties in that game that put them into really too many long yardage situations. Mm-hmm. And it's really difficult to play against any defense, but certainly a Michigan defense that had 8 or 9 defenders at the combine, and probably all of them will be drafted. So, I'm not necessarily a believer in one game. I think when I start the evaluation process, I start, as I think most guys do, with traits and attributes. Then I think about the offense that they're asked to run. Am I seeing things that I'm likely to see at the NFL level? Is he being asked to some degree to do things that he'll be asked to do in the NFL? And then you start thinking about projection. You start thinking, okay, what kind of offense would he best be able to work within? The projection part is where it becomes, pretty difficult. It's the easy part very often, Rich, is to look at a quarterback and say, boy, he's really talented. No one's going to argue that Caleb Williams isn't talented. That's not the point. That's the easy part of the evaluation. Then you have to go further. Look, I mentioned Trevor Lawrence. He was generational, as we all recall. It hasn't quite worked out that way, and it may still, maybe in a year or two, we'll say he's one of the 2 or 3 best in the league. But generational is one of those terms that goes well beyond just being one of the 2 or 3 best. So I think you have to factor in a lot of variables when you evaluate quarterbacks. It's not just an easy mathematical equation.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.